afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Soenke Marahrens. I am at the moment the Director of the Community of Interest for Strategy and Defense at the European Center of Excellence for Countering Hybrid Threat in Helsinki. For this presentation, I choose the title Leading MDO, Leading and Commanding Control in accordance with the degree of complexity, or in a shorter way, der Auftragstaktik. My work over the last 3 years was on leadership challenges for the 21st century, and I wrote together with a couple of colleagues from UK and other nations this future leadership brochure, which you can download from the internet. And we looked into themes like the VUCA world, hybridity and gray zones, but also the fog of big data and the need for artificial intelligence. During our work, we came over the so-called Kinefin framework of problem complexity. And we liked the framework because it made us able to address the challenges of future leadership in accordance with the complexity of the problem. The framework knows 5 stations, as you can see depicted on the slide: simple, complicate, complex, chaotic, and then there is a spot in the middle where we still have no idea what we're looking for. But so far I will go only for the chaotic or the wicked problems. Hybrid wars as a new forms of war might be conflicts almost without the military. Every one of you have heard about the little green or blue men and women, either in Crimea or in the Southeast China Sea. But the reality for us as military thinkers is it might be wars without us. And there might be threats, we call them hybrid threats, from malign actors from the other side who are interfering into our societies, and we as the military are not the right answer. But also the 21st century wicked military environment. It's interesting. Space and cyber are new domains. Cyber is part of all domains. Time will become a variable on the new battlefields. We will see either hyper wars or slow wars. We have no clue how to handle autonomous weapon systems. We will see artificial intelligence in C2 processes. We have to produce parallel and cross-domain effects, and the idea of effects rather than simple attrition. So multi-domain operations are not land operations or maritime operations plus. They are a new form, and we have to find a clue how to cope with them. And then the challenge of the future force. How will the future force look like? We know that we still need tactical leadership on the ground, which gives to our men and women the let's go element. And they might be supported by artificial intelligence. We need the strategic thinker, the why we are fighting and the why and what we are fighting for. This could also be AI supported. And in between, we have the operational functions. Will they be headquarters in the future, or will they just be artificial intelligence and providing the correct, new, different plans in order to cope with our problems on the battlefield? And then on the lowest level, we have to integrate new forms of weapon systems, whether they are lethal weapons or non-lethal weapon systems, whether they are autonomous or non-autonomous or semi-autonomous. They will be next to our male and female soldiers. And then national defense, alliance defense. It's also a chaotic or wicked problem. Let me prove this by this example on Russia. When I went 2 years ago to the conference on Russia and Tartu at the Baltic Defense College, on the first panel, an expert came in and say, Russia will implode within the next 14 days and NATO must be prepared to take over the rest. Okay? Next panel, another expert, Russia will attack within 14 days. NATO must be prepared for defense. Okay, this sounded what I had the understanding of. And then another expert came in and saying, no, you're getting it wrong. Russia is Europe's enfant terrible. Because we are not playing with Russia, we don't let them to our table. They behave the way they are acting at the moment. And then last one, it was a historian at a night table. He came up with a theory proving it over 800 years. Russia has always expanded beyond its boundaries. So this is the challenge for the future. And by this you can see it's a wicked problem. You have 4 experts and they even can come up with one question: what is the problem? So how do we cope with our future? And then there's one methodology for solving such kind of wicked problem. It's called design thinking. And one of the steps of design thinking is that you should integrate the ideas of your opponent. And as you can see on my slide, this was given by General Gerasimov a couple of years ago. This is how he understands the next war. And it's not only about multi-domain operations. He says there's a correlation of non-military and military measures, what we also would call it as hybrid threats today, by a ratio of 4:1. So we have to integrate this in our thinking. So national defense and alliance defense 24 is totally different from a national defense, alliance defense of 1989. I like to use this matrix, which crosses the action from the time spectrum with the resources from the time spectrum. And if you try to find where MDO is, you would say it's military actions with military resources. This is our field of thinking. But cyber war is in the field of information. And economic war is in the field of economic and economics. So, and everything is crossed by the new possibilities of modern IT technology. So at the end, national defense and alliance defense will be 15.5 times cyber defense in all the fields depicted on the slide, plus 0.5 conventional defense on parallel but interconnected battlefields. And this is our challenge for the future. So, the need for more smartness on the battlefield is on the table. And don't get me wrong, the way military thinking today is not incorrect. It's perfectly correct for the task we have done so far. We are able to cope with simple and complicated problems. When General McChrystal showed this slide in Afghanistan, everyone was laughing, but he was dead serious. For me, it's one of the greatest misunderstanding in the military thinking over the last couple of years, because it's a system thinking. He's changed the scope from complicated military mission to a full system understanding of Afghanistan, saying if we understand this slide, we will win the war in Afghanistan. Unfortunately, we used under-complex solutions and thinking, and everyone knows what happens in Afghanistan at the end. But our future environment is wicked. We have no clue. We are not certain. And for this, we need a philosophy of leading and following under uncertainty. And being a German general staff officer, you always need a citation from Karl von Clausewitz. And the easiest one in this case is, in a war, many messages are contradicted, more are even wrong, and most are uncertain. So you as a leader have to cope with uncertainty, but also the soldiers you are leading have to cope with the same uncertainty, and you have to convince them. And Moltke the Elder came up with the conclusion as a rule: the order shall only include and never ever more what a subordinate cannot order by him, herself, in order to reach a given aim. So make them part of the problem-solving process. So it's not just you giving orders, it's also you listening to your subordinates and also take their ideas, give them a frame where they connect. So what is the added value of Auftragstaktik? And for me, that's beyond the scope of what we discussed today on mission command. Order command is very easy. I am the superior, you are my subordinate, I tell you do this and you are doing this. Mission command is a top-down perspective, is a leader-centric perspective. So I am, as the leader, can decide what will be the action and solution space. Auftragstaktik is beyond this. It incorporates also the subordinate. So I, as a leader, the superior, I gave a frame, and inside the frame, my subordinate can solve the problem on his level, on his and her own, like she's trained for. But for this, you need a huge level of trust, because your subordinates must trust you if they make a failure, that you stand in front of them And they must also trust you that the frame you gave them in the beginning will not change. And that's the risk of mission command. A leader can always change the frame to a smaller level, even down to order command. But in the idea of mission command as a philosophy, this frame is always fixed, and it's a clear deal between the superior and the subordinate. Another added value of Auftragstactik is on the quantitative level. If you put your subordinates into charge, you need less control. If you trust them, you don't have to control them. Of course, there's a certain level of control always necessary, but if you just give order, you have to see how your orders were fulfilled. If you trust your people by giving them a mission, then you will see the results later on. This reduces the necessity of C2 capacity in your system. So striving for a 21st century leadership and C2 philosophy is what you see on this slide, and it was created by Mrs. Jakubik in a great paper from 2017. So mission command, like we understanding, is industrial command. We apply existing knowledge and we are leader focused. Well, where we have to go to in order to cope with the wickedness I showed you at the beginning of my presentation. We had MDO and countering hybrid threat as mission space. We must be smarter to find new ideas. Maybe we need an open organization down from brigades to battalion task groups like we see already in Russia. We will see AI and laws on the battlefield. We need trust in our people, but also trust in artificial intelligence if we want to use it. And for this, we need an ultracentric command philosophy, and this is the basic idea of Auftragstaktik, both directions, up and down. And by this, the leadership practices will change from simply act to explain. You have to explain their subordinates what's going on so that they can deal. And you also have to explain your enemy rather than only act on him, that he understood why I do certain effects in the cyberspace or the physical domain. By this, let me sum up. The future environment is wicked. The greatest challenge will be we have to frame the problem correctly. In order to outsmart our opponents, we have to lead and command and control smarter. Auftragstaktik is founded on bilateral trust. Auftragstaktik is still modern. It prevents micromanagement, what people hate, of a connected IT battlefield, as well as decision catharsis when people don't know what to do because they're not getting orders from above. Good news, good leaders normally already use aspects of Auftragstaktik intuitively. However, Auftragstaktik cannot be ordered. It must be lived, reflected, and understood. It will be a cultural change, a cultural shift. Thank you for your time, and I'm looking forward to get your questions. And also thank you to the C2 Center of Excellence for providing me the opportunity to discuss this tonight, this afternoon with you. Thank you very much.